was in the place, I have a Iceman. You heard about it.
Really?
My son, I am grateful to Allah. There are 5 things I talk about God.
What will you describe as the greatest achievement of your life? Jazz music or the other work you're doing?
The greatest achievement of my life is faith.
Jazz music claims its roots in America by African Americans. But Amigo Jeng draws and ties its history to Africa, connecting the genre to the variety of local instruments used to produce music on the continent, particularly on the Smiling Coast.
This is the way we go to school, go to school, go to school. This is the way we go to school, early in the morning. Rap-a-tap-a-tap-tap on my shoulder, rap-a-tap-a-tap-tap on my shoulder, rap-a-tap-a-tap-tap on my shoulder. I am the leader.
Hi, I'm Nisa, having a great time with my friends in the Smiling Coast. This program is brought to you by
I started reading books, and there was a page, a chapter which says, "What is jazz?" And that book, it was attached to Louis Armstrong. And Louis Armstrong was to give an answer of what was jazz. And what he said, jazz cannot be explained. That book I read.
It's rather undefinable.
Yes, what you cannot read, if you bring it down and bring it down to what I now discover, what is the actual meaning, what you cannot explain is something which is mixed up. If you mix things in the world of language, it's jazz.
Not jazz, really. It is very interesting. Now tell me, how did you, come to decipher, configure this great mixture, which is it Neil Armstrong, Louis Armstrong was talking about?
Now this book, they were Louis Armstrong. There was another guy, I think Count Basie. There was another guy, I think John Coltrane. There were other guys, you know, who were...
So essentially you didn't find answers in this book, the answers for the definition of jazz. They couldn't answer it. And so what answer did you give it?
So I started looking for what jazz, because it was stated that jazz come from Africa, and the word jazz come from an African language. That's what put me in. I said, this is a challenge.
History holds that it was discovered by African Americans in the 20th century, but it still connotes, speaks of connections in Africa.
No, I wouldn't agree that it was discovered by African, what I more or less.
Yes.
But I find out how the thing came about. Because
original roots of the genre.
Yes, because the question said, what is jazz? Nobody can answer what is jazz. Louis Armstrong, jazz cannot be explained. Right.
It's a mystery, really.
It's a mystery. But one thing was fact, the word, it's an African word, jazz. And then it's something what Louis Armstrong said cannot be explained. That gave me a guideline. When I came back to the Gambia, I went to Senegal. I went to meet great people like Basiru Kunta, great historian. I went to see many other people to ask them, do they know any word which is jazz in our language? And they went on explaining to me jazz, but I wasn't satisfied with all their explanation.
What were you looking for?
Because when I said...
were you looking for a definition that linked it to Africa, or...?
No, definition that give me the meaning.
The real meaning you were looking for. Okay.
So the guy said, there do jazz. I said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. He said, there is another word called jazz. It's a kind of a wind during the rainy season, after the rainy season, when, people, that weather, it's called kind of a hamatan, or what they call it in the world of jazz.
Yeah.
I said, that's not.
You were still unsatisfied.
It happened satisfactory as an accident. One day, the Almighty Allah, the King of Kings, the Master of the universe, realize that I have a dream and I have a determination of finding. I've got my bass player. His name is John Gomez. He used to work at the central bank as a top security. He was my bass player. He was in my office and we were practicing how the thing came about. I was sitting.
All this why you'd already started working on the jazz?
Because I made a promise in England that I will go on spending my time into our culture, whatever, to bring light, to bring my culture, whatever I may put it.
While you've been playing jazz.
So I said to my bass player, I said, John, today when we were practicing, what were you doing with those strings of yours, your bass? He said to me in Wolof, Boss dama ko don jahas. Mane Allahu Akbar. Then I said, Eureka, Eureka, I have found it. Archimedes, the great physician.
So the definition was accidentally, answered.
He said, Boss dama ko don jahas.
Okay. And suddenly the answer connected in your mind.
As soon as he said, dama ko don jahas, I said, that's what I'm looking for.
What you've been looking for ages. And suddenly, a work of yours, is it?
And then
came about with the answer.
I said to John, oh, I'm grateful. But I said, John, all my life I tried to find out this word. I am told jazz comes from Africa. It's come from an African language, and it's jahas. But then I started making my theory, working it out, and then I said, now, how this word came to the white man? If white man pronounced this word,
jazz.
No. There is a word in jazz. It's not spelled J-A-Z-Z. It's spelled J-A-S-S. Jazz.
Yeah.
Because I said a white man cannot pronounce. If you tell him jahas, he will say jazz.
Yeah.
When our ancestors answer their masters, when they ask them what you are doing, the guy said, there was a smart Wolof among them who must say jahas.
Yes. Thank you so much, Amigo Jeng, for joining us on the expedition. That's the Gambia's legendary king of jazz, Amigo Jeng, telling us about his life, jazz music, and the evolution of popular music in the Gambia. Here's exactly where we will draw the curtain on this edition of the expedition. But we'll continue to join us as we go on to look at the beautiful and characterful disposition of the smiling coast. Don't forget you can watch this program and many more on our website. That's on www.grts.gm. Until we meet again, enjoy the rest of the evening with GRTS.
ربنا تقبل منا وعافنا واعف عنا وعلى طاعتك وشكرك أعنا ربنا تقبل منا وعافنا واعف عنا وعلى طاعتك وشكرك أعنا
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هنا إذاعة الراديو وتلفزيون غمبي تقدم لكم برنامجكم المعتاد صوت الإسلام بلغة الفلانية يأتيكم في كل جمعة يعده ويقدم لكم أخوكم في الله مصطفى جلو. موضوعنا اليوم أهمية الصلاة بعدما تناولنا للإسراء والمعراج لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم